And it says it's now recording. Oh yeah, I also have a fool dog that loves to bark. So, but we'll see how this goes. All right, welcome to to Choose Your Own Adventure Squashbook. I am Brandy Pettis. It rhymes with lettuce. I teach middle school at Amherst Middle School, and I teach grades 5 through 8 right now. Our school is, I guess you would call it a hybrid model, but teachers had the option to teach in person or remote. I hope this is still recording, even though I'm frozen. And students could choose to be in person or remote. Our school year is broken into 10 segments, and that status for teachers and students can change each segment. So there's going to be a lot of flux, I think, in our school year. So we've been back since, I don't know, it's like week 4 or something. There have been a lot of lessons learned by me, certainly, in this the first 4 weeks. A lot of what I had planned needed to change. And I'm very, very thankful for this lesson. I hope that you guys will be able to use it. You could use it as is. You could change it up and do whatever you want with it. But even if you get like one little bit out of this, I hope that it will help you. So, all right, here we go. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And again, things keep kind of, my internet was great for a while, and now I guess it's going to be kind of silly. Maybe it's because I have like 80 tabs open. That could be. So I have emailed you guys the ability to, I've shared with you this NHAEA 2020 Squashbook thing on via email. It's on Google Drive. If you don't have Google Drive or Gmail or any of that, please let me know and I can get those to you some other way. But really, what this project is we create this Squashbook thing, and that's just the name for the structure of the book. If you feel that this is too much for your students, you could do an accordion book. But I'm going to show you the structure. I'm going to show you what we do for prompts and everything. And this will hopefully be a good lesson for you. If I've had students do this fully remote and it's taken them 3 weeks, I'm going to be doing it this segment that's coming up, and that's a 4-week segment. I think it's also a really good emergency sub lesson to give the students this sort of idea at the beginning of the year. And then if we all of a sudden went remote, or I couldn't come in or something like that, or early finisher, they could be working on this the whole time. The other thing I want to do, I want to tell you before we get going is, if, I'm sort of just going doing this, and we've had some technical issues this morning, and we'll probably have more technical issues through this session. So if you have a question, seriously, just like get in there, and I wouldn't do anything fancy like raise your digital, how you can click and raise your hand. I'm never going to see that. Just unmute yourself and ask the question. Oh my gosh, they're throwing paper airplanes at me as well. Oh my God, guys, please don't.
It's just me.
I'm home with middle schoolers as well, so it's I'm living my life, my true, authentic life here. I know. So let's look into this. One of the things that I shared with you is a slideshow, and here we go. Yay. I'm going to move us out of the way over here potentially. I'm waiting for this to load up. Yeah, I really want this. I really do. Here we go. Present. I feel like we all have to have A lot of kindness and grace for things that are happening or not happening. Oh, good. Here it is. Choose your own adventure. So normally I make a little intro video with the kids where I dress up like an explorer, like Indiana Jones kind of explorer. And I'm like, you know, make a big deal about this, about how you're going to choose your own adventure. And then I watched my video from last spring because I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I'll show that. No, it was awkward. And I don't know what I was thinking when I made that last year. So I'm not going to show it to you. You're just going to have to expect, you're just going to have to imagine. I'm sure that you would make a wonderful video on your own. So I would say there's a couple of different ways to introduce the project, but I'll show you the slideshow that I do here. Oh my gosh, am I frozen? Yeah. I'll show you the slideshow here. I usually think of this project in 3 videos. One is you going through the slideshow with your students and kind of the overview. This slideshow has some other things to it that I put in there because teachers were going to be watching it. If you're going to do this with students, I would take some of this out. But the first is like the first video is overview of the project. Okay, choose your own adventure. Yeah. Okay. I usually go over what is a Squashbook because that sounds really weird. And I call it, I'm like, this is what we're going to be making. And it is a Squashbook, but it's also called an explosion book. But that's probably not very appropriate for school. And I show this choose your own adventure covers I made. Then I go into like the real thing. And let's move us over. You're going to see before I move us over so we can see the words. Here is a partially opened Squashbook from the interwebs. And then here is a cover of one of my students' finished books. And then here's what it looks like. This is not my lesson. I do not want to take credit for this amazing lesson. I have tweaked it and used it and stuff. And I'm planning on, actually, I have to present this to 2 different grade levels next week, but it's not mine. So yes, my student did this work, but the actual idea is not mine. So you're going to see lots of different things. The teacher who originally did this had students fill up every one of these sections with art. I didn't think my middle schoolers could really handle that. So, and they were working remote, and I didn't think it was appropriate for me to request that they do more than an hour's worth of work a week. So if I gave this project to them for 3 weeks, I really could only expect 3 to 4 pieces of artwork, probably. Your situation might be different. So that's why we only have 4 pieces of inside artwork and a cover for this, but you could have them do, I don't know, 11 pieces, I think it is. So, but I want you to see this. And now I'm going to move us all over so that you can kind of see the definitions. So explosion book, because when it's like this, it explodes open to be so much bigger than it is. Oh goodness, I feel like I'm having a boomer moment where I'm like, I can't handle the way that this Zoom is working and getting coordinated. You could also use the term Squashbook because your amazing art is like squashed into a little area. Again, if you think this is too much for them, do an accordion book or something like that. Okay, let's look to see what else we have. Oh, yay, someone else is joining us. Let's admit him. I'm going to turn up. Did it work? Is he in? I don't know. John, did you make it in?
I am, thank you.
Yay, good. I was like, I can't tell. We're having sort of, questionable success with this whole technology thing today. So I'm glad you're here, though.
Thanks. No worries.
All right, so we just went over what is a Squashbook. It either explodes or it squashes down. And you'll see this, you'll have this slideshow. You haven't missed anything besides me just lamenting the technology in 2020. All right, so yeah, just like my kids are now making fun of me. All right, So how will we, this is a slide I would show the students. How would we do this? There's going to be a handout, there's videos, and you're going to have me to walk you through it. It's going to be great. So I feel like we're just kind of in the middle of this whole thing. So my handout, I've given you the parts of the handout in that Google folder that I shared with you via email. So we usually have a, there's the step-by-step directions that you have in here, and you'll see there's a list of options that you can do. It talks about Zentangle, OpArt, all this other stuff. It looks like a kind of a table. I also have started something new this year, and you'll see the picture of it right here, where it says submit your work and sketch your ideas. That's actually a set of Google slides that I share with the student. I make a copy for each student in Google Classroom, and they need to fill that out every week to show me what their plan is. Every time they do a piece of artwork, or before they do a piece of artwork. The artworks that we're creating are only 4 inches square. This should not take a lot of time, but I kind of want to know so I can plan. And it gives me an idea of what the materials lists are as well that they need, because I'm going to have to be making sure they have those things. The other thing that we have, and they'll be able to, even though there's a printed copy that a student is given, I want them to use the computer. I want them to use Google Classroom to do this stuff. I walk them through how to do this. The easiest way for them to, and we'll talk about, maybe we'll talk about that in a minute, because I do break each of these things down, but they have to actually like insert an image of a slide of their sketch in there and everything. My 5th graders can do this. My 8th graders can do this. My 7th graders are having a little bit of a struggle with this, but I just keep helping them through it. I even have a video that I do where I show them how to do it, and I'll be like, watch the video, watch the video. So you can do that as well. And there's an overview of how to put the slide, the Squashbook together, and then there's a reflection, because part of it is, that they have to do is write a reflection about the whole process. We're going to go to the next one here. All right. I do suggest having videos for this. They're a really great way to understand it. I suggest as a teacher, you make 3 videos for this, at least. The first one would be you walking them through the project, kind of like we're doing now. You're using the slideshow and you're like, hey, everybody, we're going to do this great thing and it's going to look like this. You can use this slideshow if you want. I would just remove the bits that you think are more teacher focused and then make it a little bit more streamlined for them. I also, in the beginning, I did that, but I also included the art options. That's too much. I would make a video that's just about art options. So if they, I have that list in the handout that says, Zentangle, OpArt, watercolor, all this other stuff. I would make a slideshow, a slideshow and a video of you explaining what is a Zentangle, just quickly. Have a couple pictures of what a Zentangle looks like so that they can kind of get those ideas. The original teacher who did this project, who I can't find them for the life of me on the internet, and I know that I found it in a Facebook middle school art teacher thing. I know where I found it. I can't find them anymore. I have her original slideshow and I shared it with you. It has examples of what Zentangle looks like, what collage looks like, all that stuff. I would show though, I would make, change that up so it's a little bit neater. Hers and my tweak to it is just a little too cumbersome. I would quickly make examples of that, make a video of you explaining that to the kids so that when they go to start to decide what they're going to do, they can watch the video. And that's going to be really helpful if you're teaching remote or in person, or if this all of a sudden becomes a work at your own pace kind of thing. The last video that I would suggest you make, or you can use mine, I do give you the link to it, is how to actually make a Squashbook. I thought we were going to have the time where we would be able to make a Squashbook as well, but wow, that's not going to happen. So I do have a video that I will show you later on, or show you the link to. And it walks you through creating the Squashbook. All my kids used that last year, and I think it's pretty good. It could be better, but I think you might want to use it if you want to save some time. Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah, teacher help. This would also be a good time to explain, what does teacher help look like if you're an in-class student, and then what does it look like if you're a remote student. With our kids, we're doing both. I don't see my remote kids at the same time. Like, I'm not Zooming them while I'm teaching the others. My remote kids have to do this project completely on their own. So those videos are going to be super, super, super important. Materials. No matter what you do, what you have on hand, you can do this project. It's just going to look a little bit different. So I do have a list of like basic supplies that kids would need. You could perhaps put if they have supply kits, that might work. I did send this project home with my kids, and I didn't include markers or anything like that because they're supposed to have them at home. But even if you're just sending home like the basic things to make the book, and then a couple pieces of paper to make the book, and then some fancy papers and colored papers and a Sharpie and a pencil, you could totally do that. I do talk about additional supplies in a second. Okay, I got to move us again over on top of this beautiful pictures. So you could make a kit with the supplies to send home to students, okay? Even just giving them the handout, some papers, like 5 pieces of the white paper to do their artwork on, 3 squares of construction paper to make the book, a glue stick, a pencil, and a Sharpie. They can do a lot of things with that because they probably have. Oh, sorry.
Is the white paper, is that like a more of a thicker cardstock, or is that just like photocopy paper?
You can use, when I sent things home, I used drawing paper. I do suggest drawing paper like for the kids, because you can tell when you do artwork on a piece of copy paper, you can kind of see through it a little bit, and it looks a little, it doesn't look the greatest. But I tell them, when my kids were home, I did this in the spring with kids when we didn't send anything home. I was like, if you don't have anything besides copy paper, use it.
Right.
But I would suggest if you had drawing paper, you could use that instead.
That would be better. Okay, great.
Yeah. So when I sent home kits just 2 weeks ago, I actually cut up a whole bunch of 4-inch squares that were drawing paper. I also gave each kid, they need 3 9-inch squares of construction paper to make the structure of the book. I cut up those and put those in there, and I made sure everyone had a glue stick, a pencil, a Sharpie. And then I kind of just grabbed all of those weird, I have a whole bunch of like fancy mulberry scraps that I got a couple years back from Blick. I just grabbed a handful of those and then went and included a whole bunch of additional papers that I just kind of had laying around. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to send them a whole bunch of stuff that I've been holding on to as kind of a hoarder art teacher. And I'm going to send those to the kids. So, there was colored paper, a little bit of Bristol. I include a little piece of watercolor paper, just kind of tissue paper, whatever I could put my hands on quickly. I kind of stuffed in these kits because I know my kids in school are going to have access to those materials. And I thought, if I can at least send a little bit of stuff home for my remote kids, they can still do some of this, the good stuff, even with that. And hopefully they have colored pencils or maybe markers or a highlighter or something like that, recycled materials, who knows? So I would remove this teacher tip thing slide, little post-it note, but the goal is to like challenge ourselves to use supplies that we've never used before, and to realize that you don't need fancy art materials to make proper, to make good, to make art. And so, I think that, so really whatever you whatever you have is going to be fine. If you have the ability to do more, that's good too. So how do I use this in my art program? Let me see. It says, do this project with your students. It's really fun. And how I just wrote this. I probably wrote this last night, but I can't remember anything right now. It's really fun and helps you work out. Oh, yes. So I was like, what am I even talking about here? So I actually do the project with my kids. Each week I would create a piece of art and stuff. It's only a 4-inch piece of artwork. So it's kind of nice because it helps you to work the bugs out while you're helping them through it. Once you've made a couple of them, you maybe don't have to do this project with them, but I think it's really fun. It's almost like you're an artist in residence and working through the problems of the art project as well with them, and they really like that stuff. Okay, so what is this project all about? It's got a cover. It's got 4 pieces of inside art. There's an actual book that they make. And there's a reflection, at least in mine, because I think reflection is really an important part of the art process. So the finished squash book looks like this, a cover, 4 pieces of inside art. One side of the squash book ends up having your reflection. The other side ends up having like the title of each piece and the art materials that you used to create those pieces. I don't even know what time it is. I better look. Oh gosh, we don't have much time. So the cover, I asked them to use options from the handout. No tracing, copying. You want to draw freehand and with your own skills. That's hard for middle schoolers. They want to copy it. Your finished artwork should be 4 inches square and it must have your name. Inside art. No repeating of any of these techniques. And again, no copying and tracing. You have to do 4 inside pieces because they go down the center of your thing. And I told the kids that each piece should take about, when we were working remote, 30 to 45 minutes. So if it's going to take you 2 seconds to do this art, no, that's not okay. You have to go back in and do some more. But I also don't want you to spend 8 hours on it either. So your kids, what you're going to be able to get out of them. Like my remote kids, when I was like, surprise, we're all remote and you have no supplies. There's no way I could expect that we were going to be 2 hours on one of these little squares, and it was going to be, they were going to have lots and lots of different types of art materials. But you'll know your students. Oh, hold on. The book structure to make the book. So they make those little 4-inch pieces of art, and then when that's all done, they make a book and they glue the pieces into the book. I don't have them work on the book because they're going to make mistakes and stuff, but you could have them make the book first and glue as they go, or I had them make the art first and then make the book last. I have a video for step-by-step instruction on how to do that. Maybe you'll have success working, having a whole class, walking them through making one of these. I kind of like to have students do it on their own, and then I'm there for some help. But again, if this structure is too complicated, have them make an accordion book, or maybe it's a cube, or maybe, I don't know. There's lots of different options here that you can use. The reflection, super important. It's one of the 4 Common Core art standards. It would be responding to artwork and such. So, and then this is also like presenting as well, because they have to, they actually have to select their works. If you had more time, you could have them do, 6 pieces and choose your 5 favorites or whatever. I included this in the materials. It's just a way to get them thinking. This is to write your draft. You do not write on this necessarily, or you could write on it, but it's eventually this information goes into the book. they can type up the information and put it in the book or just handwrite it, but I do need to be able to read it. That was a struggle in the spring, was being able to read it. But, you know, you could have them maybe, you know, what I did end up having them do is write it in their book, and then they had to actually take their artist statement, the part that is like their reflection on the entire process. They had to take that and put it in a Google, like in a Google comment to me so that I could actually read it, because I couldn't see what they had written when they submitted their pictures to me. So that's something to think about. Finished examples. So I think it's really important to show the kids the finished examples of years past, and maybe talk about what would make this a good experience for you, because we're going to be doing this the next 4 weeks or whatever. How would this be a good experience? Oh, choosing things you actually like if you're a sports kid, maybe choosing sports related art and subject matter to do. Oh my goodness, that would be great. What makes a good finished product? Let's look at some of these. What do you think, like, what sort of stands out to you as like, wow, that person did a really great job? And then what makes a good reflection when you're writing that? So then we look at some. So these are some of the ones that my kids did. These were fully remote in the spring. So you're going to notice that some of these are maybe, you know, could be improved upon, but I'm super happy that they did this. You're going to see this little, like, I don't know, this weird triangle thing. Everybody thinks that's the only art. That's the only optical illusion that exists in the world. So you're, you know, as you are working with students, that's going to be, you know, you'll have, but even this was really good because I was able to say like, oh, here, SpongeBob, he seems to be floating in air. Like, could you make a horizon line and show that he's standing on something? Like, where does he live? So we had kids try pointillisms and Tangle, all sorts of great things. Some students were like really wanted to work on their pencil techniques. Some wanted to do 1-point perspective. That's all in the in those examples. See, here's another one of those crazy triangle things. Like, it's the only thing they know what to do. There's some kids did acrylic, and it was really great to read their reflections. They were great. A lot of them were like, I didn't think I was going to enjoy this project, and then I did paper weaving, and wow, it was my favorite. It was nice to hear what they had to say about these. Let's see what else we've got. Oh yeah, extra bits. How long should this project take? You could do this, like I said, over 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a whole semester, whatever, it doesn't matter. You could give it to them just in case you ended up going remote. Materials. Oh yeah, I've shared those materials with you. So you have everything that I have. Hands-on practice, we were going to make a Squashbook, you and I, but yeah, that's when I thought that this session was 2 hours, which I don't know where I got that idea, but you know, it's not. And now it certainly isn't because it was much shorter. But I would suggest watching the video. The link is going to be in that slideshow that I shared with you. Watch my video, try it. It's a lot more fun than, you know, the students are super in awe when you show them this project and you're like, we're going to make this thing and it's going to explode and it's going to be amazing. They're really excited about it. Usually everybody's like, ooh, ah. And then I did want to talk, you know, hopefully we would have had time to share what your ideas could be for using this in your classroom. And of course, here's my contact information. So you'll have that in the slideshow as well. And I think that's the end of my slideshow. Yeah, so thank you for staying with me this far, because I feel like that was a lot of me talking and not a lot of, you know, us kind of doing this. I will tell you, I'm going to be presenting this. We have like 3 more minutes and it stresses me. But I will be presenting this project to 2 classes, well, actually 4 classes, but 2 grade levels next week. My 7th graders, I have a group of 7th graders right now that a lot of them we have a 2-hour class once a week. I'm really lucky. I have them for the next 4 weeks. Multiple students leave that class during that time for services. So they come and go. And so I can't do a project that where we're like counting on something to happen 1 week so we can use it the next. That does not happen. I can't walk, and there's 18 of them. I can't walk them all through the project because they leave and then they come back. And I don't know that. And the rest of them, we have, there's a lot of support that's needed. So they really need the videos. So having this project and having videos walking them through with lots of ideas, my expectations is that they're just going to explore the materials and they're going to come up with some art. And 4-inch squares in a 2-hour time period where maybe you're there and maybe you're not, and everything, that is going to be perfect for them. I'm also going to do a thing once a week where I say like, hey guys, let me talk to you about color mixing real quick. And then it has to be done. And then it's watch the video and plan what you're going to do today. I think that might work. It's hard to say. Because I will tell you, the first time I taught that class this year, I went home and cried because it was just not there. It was awful. It was just how I had thought things were going to go were just not. So, because you have to do a mask break and a movement break, and you can't pass out materials, and you can't, it was interesting. So I'm hoping that this is going to work really well with them. They do have to learn about printmaking, and they have to learn about the portrait. So I'm going to force one of their pieces of artwork is watch this video and learn about the facial proportions and draw a little face. And that's one of your things that has to be in there. I've had them for 2 weeks already, and 1 week was the crying week. And the second week was a radio printmaking, like a 1-day, let's make this. And it was all video, and there was a handout, and I was there just for support. It was mine, but I was there as more of a support role. They all got that project done. So they've already created a piece for their book. They just don't know it yet. So that's how I plan on structuring that one. And then my 8th graders, I'm using the project to be like, hey, the first week we're going to create a picture. You're going to create a picture that's going to be how people see you and how you are on the inside, and have that. And then I'm going to give them, I'm going to say, you might want to look at surrealism. You might want to look at the indirect self-portrait or whatever. You might want to look at doing a split picture. Okay, so figure out what you want to do and what your materials are, and create a 4-inch piece of art today that talks about you, how people see you and how they. So I'm kind of hoping that every week I'll give 8th graders a response, because they're supposed to be learning about like about contemporary art and how art can communicate something. My goal is for them to use this book as like I should be able to look at this book and see a snapshot of who you are in middle school right now. I have not done that sort of slant on it, so I'm hoping that's going to work out really well, and I'll be able to follow up with you guys and be like, look, it's possible. But those are how I'm using it. And everybody in my 7th and 8th grade classes, I gave them this project in their folder in case we go remote, like emergency remote, or if I had to stay home and I couldn't teach them anymore, they would be able to pull this project out. It's almost like, have you ever heard of those? I don't know what they are really, but some schools have blizzard bags, and like it's an emergency thing if people stay home. Oh. Wow. And we're done.
Thank you so much, Brandy.
Oh, no problem. I'm so glad you're even here still, because it looks like you're not. So I don't know. I think that maybe we're done the 40 minutes and now it's time to head back. And I feel like I didn't get any feedback from you guys and dialogue. This is not how I would have done it normally. So,
No, I like this idea for this project.
oh, good.
Definitely.
I hope it helps.
Yeah, for my students, if I were to do this, I would give them a choice of this or the accordion, depending on their level of ability.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I think one 7th grade class will be able to do the Squashbook, and the other ones are going to be probably doing accordion. And it's not, they'll have that choice, I think, and some of them will be fine with the accordion. They would prefer it anyway.
Yeah, I've done the accordion at the high school level, and they really enjoyed it. I think this would really challenge them.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Well,
I teach elementary, so I think I would create the structure, the foundation, the book, and then have the kids create the pictures and the stuff to go in it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's how I would use.
I did do a thing
Especially for
with.
like my remote learners.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of different options, and it's good to at least just see how one person does it, and then make it your own. But at least you're not having to recreate the wheel.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's enough of that out there. We're having to recreate the wheel.
Well, thank you so much for sharing a slideshow and a handout. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. I wish that we had longer so that we would have been able to do more sharing, but
That would have been nice.
yes.
No,
So.
thank you so much for.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you. And end meeting for all.